Hey guys, and welcome to a impromptu live stream because I do think that I should actually address what is happening now with Israel because it is very, very significant. And so I was actually going to do a live stream about Beetlejuice, but this is far more important and far more significant right now. And hello and good afternoon to you too, Rochelle. Rochelle is going to be the moderator of the chat. I don't think we're going to have too many issues, Rochelle, because it is an impromptu live stream and it is the middle of the day here in Australia anyway. So I don't know who really is around at the moment in the Northern Hemisphere. But anyway, I did just want to get this information out to you guys because we are about to be bombarded by so much propaganda. It's going to make our heads spin. I mean, if you think that the propaganda that they were pushing regarding Ukraine was bad, you just wait to see how they are going to start pushing this war in Israel, because it's going to be very, very full of disinformation and nobody is really going to know the truth of anything. I mean, unless you've been paying attention for the last 10 years to everything that they've been doing, you identified your enemy, you know how they work, then you are not going to be able to discern the truth from the lies. I mean, guys, this is why we woke up 10 years ago. Okay, even longer. All right, I say 10 years, but I'm really just rounding it down. I mean, it's really been since 2011. Okay, so this is why we woke up. All right, we didn't wake up just to screw around and do nothing with the information that we actually started researching and looking into. We didn't wake up just so that they could just herd us down another false path and you know, fool us into going back to sleep because of all the other psyops they're playing. Okay, we have to be more discerning and we have to be smarter than they give us credit for, because their psyops are so good. Unless you actually understand your enemy, you are not going to be able to tell the difference between the truth and lies. So I'm going to use this live stream to basically give you all of the information that I've been putting out for the last 10 years. Okay, I'm just going to round it down and say 10 years. All right, now I've done a lot of different videos addressing what's about to play out. Okay, they were a long time ago, and I know that a lot of you weren't even awake back then. You probably didn't wake up until they played out the COVID card. Okay, the subplot in their script where they played out a pandemic. All right, and a lot of people woke up around there because it was pretty hard not to. I mean, if you did not wake up in the last few years after what they just did to us, then really there is no hope for you. So anybody still asleep, that is it. They will die how they lived, on their knees and completely asleep and unaware of the truth. Okay, but that is their choice. All right, and you will know in yourself that a lot of people don't want the truth. Okay, you go to try and tell them the truth and they get very angry at you. They get very negative. They don't want to know the truth. Okay, they're happy with the status quo. They're happy with the reality that they've created in their own little bubble with the help of those who are in control of our world now and have literally created this reality that we live and how we live it right now, because it is not in any way, shape or form authentic. And we know that, which is why so many souls are sick, which is like something like 60% of Americans are on psychotropic drugs, okay, suffering from mental illness. It's because this system is not healthy. It's unhealthy and it's not authentic. And any soul who still has some type of connection to themselves and is not completely, torn apart from their heart and mind, knows that the system we live in right now is unhealthy and it is not authentic and it is corrupted. And basically anyone who does really well in this system right now is a freaking psychopath. So if there is someone successful in your circle of friends and family that do really well, stay away from them. Okay, there's a reason they do so well in this system. It's because they're not a very nice person. Because this system does not reward kindness, does not reward true virtue and strength and morals and, integrity. This system only rewards evil behavior and, behavior like greed and selfishness and vanity. I mean, those are the people who do well in this system. So let me just put that out there. All right, so I'm going to actually address what's happening now over in Israel, and I'm going to connect it back to everything I've been warning about for the last, as I said, nearly a decade or over a decade. And I just want you guys to know that that lull that we were experiencing, and remember I was saying that in the last couple of live streams, don't get too comfortable because this is just a lull, and any type of evil that would have played out what they just did on us the last 3 years, literally forcing nearly 80% of the world's population to be injected with an experimental substance. Anyone evil enough to do that is not just going to stop at that, are they? I mean, they're not just going to play that out and then go, yeah, well, that's okay. We're over being evil now. We just did that, and we're just going to be kind and virtuous and good now. Like, all of the evil stuff that we just did is just not going to happen anymore for no reason whatsoever. Because all of the people that, the main players that were in power back then, a couple of years ago, playing that out, are still in power now, aren't they? So there is no difference to a few years ago to now when it comes to the evil controlling our world and controlling all of our societies in the West and also in the East, okay? Because they have infiltrated every single government now, every single religion. It's all a stage show, guys. And I'm about to show you how I've been telling you this for the last over a decade. And I'm hoping that people are now going to take this information and prepare themselves for what's coming. Because as I said, what they have planned for us is nothing compared to, what we've experienced. I mean, if people thought that what they did to us with the pandemic, locking us down and getting us to scan everywhere we go and putting us under surveillance and making us wear masks and all of that stuff, if you thought that was bad and that was evil, that is nothing compared to what's coming. So you better buckle up because it's about to get rough, badly and horribly rough for Westerners, okay? Because the tables are turning, guys, all right? And the crosshairs are now on us, okay? That is how these evil shit stains on humanity are going to play out the script. It's our turn to suffer, okay? And this is the beginning of that. So let me just begin by telling you guys that it's exactly 22 weeks to the day from the time when the false king was coronated on the 6th of May to the 7th of October when Hamas and Hezbollah invaded Israel. 22 weeks to the day. Remember I told you that the coronation of false King Charles was very significant and that we should pay attention to it because it means that they're about to play out the next stage of their script, the next subplot of their script. Well, we're here, guys. We're here right now. It is no secret, it is no surprise that we can see false King Charles and the Windsor family, or, you know, the family that proclaim they're of royal heritage, which they're not. They've stolen their throne. But these people have a very close connection to the Arabs, to the Saudis. You can actually see footage of King Charles, false King Charles, dancing the sword dance with the Saudis. Okay. And he is not uncomfortable doing this dance with the Saudis, this sword dance. He is literally like he is one of them. Okay, it's not some awkward moment where the king goes over to visit, or the royal family go to visit another country, and then they, you know, for the PR, they go and do what they, you know, the people in that country are doing. No. You go and look at that video, Prince Charles sword dance, Saudis. Just put that in YouTube and you'll bring it up. Okay, I'll see if I can find it, and I'll put a link underneath the video, but you can easily find this. I mean, I've posted it a few times on my social media groups. But he is completely comfortable with these people. He is completely comfortable doing this ritualistic sword dance. He has done it many times. When you look at him in amongst them all, it is like he is just one of them. And now we have 22 weeks after his coronation to the day, we have the invasion of Israel. So, I mean, I don't know how many times people just have to think these are all coincidences before they start realizing and start identifying what's going on here. Because really, when you don't understand who your enemy are, they just mock you. They just mock you and they laugh at you. So stop allowing yourself to be laughed at and start actually removing all the white noise from your existence. You know, like, there's so much information at the moment, and there's going to be so many commentators putting out all of this information and telling you all of these different things. And some of it's going to be half truth, some of it's going to be truth, some of it's going to be completely false. And it's up to you to discern through everything. But if you don't understand who your enemy are at the very beginning, I mean, if you don't know from the beginning who your enemy are, how are you ever going to discern truth? And that is why when people give me channels, oh, listen to this guy, listen to this guy, listen to this guy, you know, unless they're identifying the enemy, and that is the Jesuits, okay, the Catholic Church. I mean, really, they aren't the Catholic Church anymore. They stopped being the Catholic Church 1700 years ago when they were infiltrated by these evil pieces of shit, right? So they have just used the cover of the Catholic Church and weaponized it so that they could play out everything that they needed to and consolidate their power. It all started 1700 years ago. So I don't want to know about, you know, all these people that are giving their opinion on what's going on in Israel right now unless they've identified who the enemy are. Now, I'm not saying that these commentators may not have some of this information correctly, but the whole reasoning behind me not, you know, wasting my time listening to them is just that why would I listen to something that I already know anyway, and especially when they're still not identifying who the enemy are, which is the Jesuits, the Vatican. Okay, they are the enemy. They are the hidden hand behind everything. And until we identify that, they're just going to continue doing this. And they are anyway, because nobody is going to put the pieces back together, because most people are too mentally lazy to bother. And they don't want to know. They don't really care enough to know. They'll just grab onto whatever sounds good and pleasing to them, and then they'll just go with that. Most people don't want the truth. And the truth is, the Vatican are bringing us to complete annihilation. Okay, they're playing out a script on mankind, and they've got their own version of biblical prophecy. And they are playing this out right now. And so false King Charles is all part of this. He is going to be presented in a way that we know that he was always part of this. Will he be the false Messiah? I am not sure. I don't know. I am not privy to all of the little ins and outs of the script that they're playing, but I know that he is significant. I know he's significant because his numerology of his name is 144. And I know he's significant because 22 weeks after he was coronated, we now have an invasion of the chosen ones. Okay. So let me just be clear that the Jews, when I say the Jews, I'm not actually, it's with a little j, because nobody knows who the real Jews are. Nobody knows who the tribes of Israel are until the appointed time when God brings his own back together, and they will illuminate. And they are from all the four corners of the world, meaning they are from all the races. They are not just one particular race of people or culture of people that have given themselves that name because they happen to have the religion of Judaism and they've decided that they are the Jews that the Bible speaks about, because that's pretty much what's happened. And so if you have a look at Revelation, there is a verse that pertains to those who call themselves Jews and are not. And that's what we're dealing with right now, because nobody knows who the Jews are. So when I'm talking about these people over in a place called Israel, which is once again not the Israel from the Bible, not the Jerusalem from the Bible, not the Bethlehem from the Bible, they're all symbolic places in the Bible. They're parts of the parables that occult the knowledge in the Bible. What's happened is that those who have now taken control of our world have created their own versions of the places in the Bible, of the holy places in the Bible, because as I said, they're using them to play out their own version of biblical prophecy. Okay, that's why they created Israel, because it's integral into how they're going to play out their version of biblical prophecy against us, the West. Because if anybody thinks this is just staying over in Israel and we can just look at what's going on over there in Gaza from the comfort of our own lounge rooms and we're never going to be touched by this evil, is deluding themselves. And that's the reason I'm doing this video, because if you have children, you need to start preparing yourself and your children for the horrors that are coming. Okay, and they may not play out in the next month or two or the next couple of months, but they're coming. All right, and I don't think we've got long until we start to see it in our own neighborhoods, in our own towns. So it's time to start paying attention, guys. This isn't just another little skirmish that's going to be snuffed out in a week. Okay, that's what they've been doing so that when they actually were ready to play this out, everyone would just assume, oh, it's just more of the same. It's just more of this, Palestine, Israel. Why can't they get along? Why can't there be peace? You know the comments. You see it all the time. And that's what people are going to think about this one, and it couldn't be further from the truth. So let's get stuck into some of, this information that I really wanted to bring to you guys. So this is where it starts to get a little dark. Okay, so most people are not going to be able to process what I'm about to say here because it is so evil. And this is how they actually are able to remain under the radar and to play out all of these very evil situations on mankind without being identified, is because they are so evil. Nobody can actually process that level of evil because it is an unnatural evil. I mean, these people try very, very hard to be good at being evil. Okay, they are experts at being evil. That it is an unnatural evil, and it is not something that comes naturally just to a normal everyday soul. Okay, I mean, most normal everyday souls, okay, the average soul I mean, we're not perfect, but it pretty much is just, you know, we might lie, we might be a bit selfish, we mightn't always be very truthful, we might be a bit greedy, we might be a bit vain, you know, that's pretty much the limit of us when we're not being virtuous and not being good. But these people we're dealing with, they are literally nightmares in a meat suit. Guys, I cannot understate. I cannot be more, I don't know how to put this. I just want you guys to know that even when I tell you how evil they are, that is not even the full extent of evil that we're dealing with. Okay, I don't think any of us have really got an understanding of the amount of the depth of depravity and evil that we're dealing with. I think we have an idea. Some of us have an idea, you know, some of us know that they've got a, you know, that they deal in, you know, they basically deal with child trafficking. Okay, they utilize children for evil. Okay, we know, a lot of us know about that. I mean, a lot of us, the majority of us know that they rape children. And we've known that for a long time. The majority of us know that they literally, they literally were responsible for the genocide of the Cathars. They tortured, burned at the stake, hacked to death nearly 1 million Cathars, Gnostic Christians over in Europe. We know they did that around 600-700 years ago. Okay, we know that that's written in the history books. Okay, we don't have to just say, well, that's a conspiracy. So this is the level of evil that we already know about. Okay, so times that by 100, because we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. They're just beginning to show us how evil they are. But there is a lot that we don't know because they're not ready to fully reveal themselves in their truest form. But we have to ready ourselves for what that's going to look like, because it is evil, guys. I mean, I just can't say it enough, because it's going to be the type of information and that type of truth when it becomes apparent and the masses know for absolutely, you know, for certain what we're dealing with. A lot of people will go mad, will go insane, because they just will not be able to process what's happened. You know, they thought this was reality and everything was okay, when the actual fact is we were living lives of complete evil. You know, as I said, those who do really good in this system, those who are a success in this system, they are evil people, because they can align themselves with an evil system that is very inauthentic. So, okay, I've prepared you for what I'm about to tell you here. So, Hamas is the creation of Mossad. Let me repeat that. Hamas is a creation of Mossad. So Hamas is basically controlled opposition. And I shared an article about this 2 years ago on my MeWe group, where I showed that there was a senior Hamas military commander that was recently arrested on suspicion of collaborating with Israel. And I do have that article in the loop of pictures that I'm showing you, and you can look up that headline and you will find it in my MeWe group. If you want to actually go and look in my MeWe group, you can access that article. So I literally was warning about it already back then, that, hey guys, Hamas is not this Palestinian group, this resistance group. They're literally controlled opposition created by Mossad, so that when they fire a homemade bomb over the wall towards Israel, it justifies Israel sending 100 back of the, you know, most highest technologically advanced weaponry back into Gaza, and destroys probably, you know, an entire neighborhood, just because Hamas sent over one little rocket, and Hamas being the controlled opposition of the Israeli leadership, the Israeli government. I mean, they have created it, and this is what they've done. They've literally done this to Israel to be able to justify carpet bombing Gaza into rubble. That is what they're doing right now. Okay, this is a false flag that they have created. They don't care that they killed their own people. Okay, they don't give a shit about their people. Just like Hamas don't give a shit about the Palestinians. This is all of the work of the hidden hand, okay, who's directing all of these politicians in Palestine and in Israel and in America and in France and in Europe and in Germany and in Sweden and in Australia and in New Zealand and in the UK and Scotland and Ireland and every single freaking country around the world, Russia, Ukraine, China. They've all been infiltrated, guys. They're all beholden to the Jesuits. The hidden hand are the ones who are controlling the entire script, and that's because they know what's coming. They know we live in a cycle, and they know what happens at the end of the cycle. They know about the reaping of the souls. They know it's coming. They know they're not going to inherit the kingdom, and so they're going to destroy it. And they're going to literally take out as many of us with them before they leave the material plane. That's literally what's happened. So they all know about it. This is how they can co-opt all of these celebrities and all of these actors and these public figures, because they know too, and they know that they are not going to inherit the kingdom. So why the hell not? If they're just going to go to the abyss anyway, well, they may as well go out shooting the place up. And that's literally what we're dealing with right now. And it's becoming, I've been saying this for a very long time, and now it's tangibly starting to play out. I mean, really, their script started tangibly playing out when we saw what they did to us using the pandemic, that subplot in their script, which they started 2020 and 2020, 22. They hate that number because it's connected to the divine souls, the real tribes of Israel, the real Jews, okay? That's who they hate. They are the real children of God, the divine souls that we don't know who they are. Nobody knows who they are. Only God knows his own. And we will only know who they are at the appointed time, because they will illuminate. These souls will be of an appearance that is very different to mortal man. But until that time, they are going to make us suffer. And this is the beginning of it, guys. So this is all a big false flag for them to be able to reduce Palestine, reduce Gaza to nothing but rubble. And it is going to be very horrific when we see what they do to the people of Gaza, because there are 900,000 children in Gaza. Okay, the average age of the people of Gaza is 17. Okay, of Palestinians, it's 17. They are a very young population, and 900,000 children live, in that area, and they are trapped. It is an open air prison. It is literally an open air prison. They cannot get out. So this whole, they're told to leave, we're telling them to evacuate. Well, where are they supposed to evacuate to? I don't see any virtue signaling leftist, liberal, progressives over in Europe or America or the UK opening up their doors to the women and children Palestinians to help them escape the bombardment from Israel. I don't see any of that And this is the hypocrisy of the West again, which is going to be rubbed in our faces. They're going to rub our noses in this hypocrisy because it is so blatant to see. You know, it's sickening to see the amount of hypocrisy that allows evil, because we are so biased and we pick and choose. And this is what they've done to us. They've propagandized us and brainwashed us to behave in this way. So the only way we can change our behaviors is to identify it. And then when we can identify what we're doing and how we're behaving, we can self-correct. But we can't self-correct if we can't identify our own hypocrisy and bias. And this is what I'm about to show us as well, you know, show as well in what I want to bring to you in this live stream. So this is all being staged so that they can be justified in what they're going to do to the people of Gaza. Now, that music festival was a total setup, okay? It was called the Tribe of Nova Music Festival or Dance Festival. It was like a trance, psychedelic trance music festival. So if you actually do the numerology on the music festival's name, which was Tribe of Nova, it's 55. Okay, so we know that just confirms that they orchestrated this music festival to be going on during this invasion of Israel. And it really is it's no coincidence that they used an example of Western hedonism or hedonism to be something that they would target, because literally that's what it was. Okay. So the whole thing was like, oh, but it was a dance of peace, you know. Look, you know, hippies have been saying that they're indulging of drugs, drinking, dancing, and literally just being, indulging in hedonism is basically their version of love and peace. Okay, if they were really about peace, do you think that they would be dancing and partying and doing drugs and having a great time, when just on the other side of the fence people are literally starving? Mothers are literally not able to get medicine for their babies. So I don't know how just having a music festival and then calling it peace is actually really doing anything about peace, other than just deluding yourself that your hedonistic ways are somehow beneficial to humanity. Now, I'm not saying that these people in this music festival deserved what happened to them. And in fact, I believe that the people who call themselves Jews, and I will call them Israelis because they're not Israelites, they're not tribes of Israel, and they're not real Jews. So let's just call them Israelis. I think that they are as much of a victim in all of this as everybody else is. I mean, they've been led to believe that they are the real Jews, okay? So they have been conditioned to behave in this way. Okay, and they are just pawns in this script as well. They are just pawns being moved around and used by the puppeteers, just like the Palestinians are. Okay, there's no real difference at the moment. There is, because it's the Palestinians who are suffering. It's the Muslims who are suffering. But as I said, the tables are about to turn, and this is going to be the catalyst that brings in this destruction and death to Western countries. Now, I warned probably about 8 years ago, okay, that there was something going on. All right, when all of these Muslims started to be imported into the Western countries. Now, back then I did a video and I called it, do you know the difference between a refugee and a migrant? So if you don't know the difference between a refugee and a migrant, so a person who is fleeing persecution or war and just cannot possibly and safely stay in their own country is a refugee. And normally all countries have a charter or have some agreement with the United Nations or whatever to basically allow these people to have safe harbor in our countries. And then there's migrants, okay, economic migrants. So they are just people that aren't fleeing persecution and war, they're just fleeing poverty. And that's because they allowed their politicians to become corrupt, and their politicians basically didn't do a very good job of providing a system in their own countries where they can all be fed and watered and have shelter and jobs and an economy. And so these people flee from their own countries and they blame white people for all the bad things that they allowed their own governments to do to them. And then somehow this is our fault because our governments, even though they're evil and corrupted, have just basically had a more successful economic system that we have benefited from. But again, this is all part of the script, and this is all the tables are about to turn, as you will see, because we know that our system of finance, right? So our economic system is on its last legs. It's literally a dying corpse that they are trying to revive. They've got the paddles out and they're putting it on the chest and they're going, clear, and it's freaking, there's a tiny little blip going, but literally we ran out of money back in 2008, and then it's just all been a complete stage show and a con game from 2008. They've just printed money into existence, and we are just we're broke. All of our countries are broke. Okay, America is the biggest economic powerhouse of the West, and they are the most broke of every single country. And when they go down, we're all going down with them. There's really going to be no difference. So 8 years ago, I started warning that, guys, there's something going on here. They're importing all of these Muslims into Europe. And these Muslims are not all fleeing Syria, okay? They're not all fleeing Syria. They're from all over the place. And a lot of them were showing nothing but contempt. So they were getting on these trains. If you watch the video that I uploaded about this, I show, I think it's some video of Muslims getting onto a train and some, I think it's Germans, I'm not sure, but it is a European country somewhere. And so these Europeans were bringing food to these people, right, to give to them on the train, and they were just throwing it and basically spitting on them and telling them to F off, we don't need your help, and just showing nothing but contempt. So I'm thinking to myself, well, this doesn't look like people that are fleeing from a war-torn country and are really, grateful that we're there to help them as their their safety net, their, safe harbor. I knew then that there was something afoot, and I warned then that they were going to use these Muslims as a way to bring down our countries. Now, of course, everything plays out a lot longer than we expected. I mean, even me, I'm thinking things are going to happen in a year or two. So I'm talking and warning about it as though guys, next year it could happen, and of course it doesn't happen next year. And then everyone's like, oh, she's such a doomer, she's a fearmonger. None of this stuff even happened. And, look, the Muslims are just, okay, they're causing a little bit of trouble. They're a little bit rapey over in Sweden, but nothing that she's saying it's happening now, okay? As always, I'm just far too early when I start warning about this stuff, and it really is my curse, because I wish sometimes that I didn't see these patterns of behavior, but for some reason I'm able to see these patterns of behavior and see these situations and the way that they are enacting them, and I can look to the agenda that's behind them instead of being caught up. And it's probably because I'm just a very distrustful person. Okay, it probably comes down to that, is that I trust nobody. I really don't trust anybody. I pretty much trust only my family. And that's just my immediate family, as in my children. And probably I could count on one hand the other people in this entire world that I trust. Um, you know, absolutely. The rest, I always have this question mark over everyone's head when they're giving me information. What is your agenda? Who is funding you? Do you have a donate button? Who else is your friends? Who else shares your videos? What other videos do they share? You know, and that's what we all have to do from now on, guys. We really do have to discern who we're getting information from, okay? It doesn't matter if they're popular, and it doesn't matter if they're telling us what they want us to hear, because you know what? Russell Brand, he tells me everything that I want to hear. But then when I go and have a look at who's friends with Russell Brand and who Russell Brand's really cozy with, then I start seeing things like the WEF. You know, that's a bit weird, don't you think? That someone who pretends or who proclaims to be on our side, and he's given us all this inside info, and he's our voice, he's our powerful, popular voice that's, you know, speaking for us, telling, you know, saying things that we can't say because we've got no platform like him. But isn't it funny that he's friends, good friends, with the people in the WEF? Okay, the ones that are talking about us as though we're about to all get chipped. Okay, and that we're nothing but dross that needs to be removed from the face of the earth. Okay, because that's how they use the WEF to basically let us know what their real feelings about us are. And the WEF, the Vatican, is on their partnership page as well. Okay, because they are the hidden hand again. Now, the WEF is just another stage show. When they reset us into this new system where it's going to be a theocracy and we're going to be completely controlled as though they are our gods, okay, but they're doing this for our own good. They're doing this because they're going to be our saviors. It's not going to happen in the way they're trying to make us believe it's going to happen with the WEF. There will be a reset, but it's not going to go down like we think it's going to go down with Claus and the WEF, okay? And it is going to involve us financially collapsing, though, okay? So basically all these Muslims that have been imported into our countries, and we have them here in huge numbers down in New South Wales, okay? That's where they mainly, we have a lot of Muslims. And every country that they've been imported to, you will find that the Muslims actually gravitate together and they will pick a particular suburb, and that's where a lot of them will all, I'm not saying that there's not outlying areas where some of them will go, but you'll know the main population of the Muslims will be kind of concentrated to one particular area. Okay. Now, I warned back then too that these Muslims coming into all of our countries under the guise of refugee, when most of them weren't refugees. We knew that. Back then I showed that most of them weren't refugees. The media were reporting the countries that they were coming from, and they weren't countries that were experiencing any kind of wars, okay? They weren't escaping any type of political, persecution or anything like that, right? So our governments were letting people come into our country that weren't refugees, but they were just Muslim migrants, right? And I said at the time, well, we should be careful, guys, because this could be a Trojan horse. You know, this could be that this is how they're going to destroy us from within, because they're going to import all of these Muslim jihadists into our countries, and they are going to basically be like sleeper agents, and they're going to integrate themselves into our society. And when they're given their cues, we're going to understand the real reason why they were, immigrating to our countries. And it wasn't because they were escaping anything. It was because they were defending what they believe is their religious identity. Okay, so they're just as propagandized as the Israelis, okay? They all are propagandized. They've just been weaponized. What they've done is they've weaponized religion, okay? And they've used religion against us, and they've succeeded absolutely, so successful in what they've done to us, divide and conquer. So I warned that was going to happen, and I think that's how it's going to play out, guys. So we need to be very alert. Now, it's not to say that every single Muslim in your neighborhood or your town is your enemy, but it would be very foolish to not at least be very guarded and very careful in your, in the way you continue on your everyday life. You need to make sure that in the back of your mind all the time you are super vigilant and you have your spidey senses engaged at all times. And if you see anything that doesn't make sense, if you have any feeling in your gut that something isn't right, you listen to it. You try to avoid very populated places, okay? Shopping centers, music festivals, concerts. I've just got a horrible feeling that Christmas is going to be something that they utilize as a way to make us pay. Because what's going to happen, guys, is we're going to be bombarded with images on the TV of all of the horrors that are being enacted on the people in Gaza, on the children in Gaza. I mean, they've already cut off their food, they've already cut off their water, they've already stopped medical aid, they've already cut off their electricity and their communications. How can this be something that is legal to the UN? Where is the United Nations here? The children of Palestine, the children in Gaza did not do anything to deserve the suffering that is being enacted on them by Israel with the support of our Western governments. This is disgusting. This is sickening. This is sickening. It is one thing to have a ground incursion where they go in and they go from door to door and they remove the women and children, they evacuate them, they bring buses in, whatever. But to just bomb the shit out of entire population and then just say, well, we're targeting Hamas. Well, Hamas had a headquarters in that building there with all of those apartments full of innocent people and children. So that gives us a right to just blow it to pieces, because that's what they're doing. And that's what they're going to keep doing, and that's what our governments are going to allow them to do. So you can imagine there is going to be a lot of rage and a lot of anger and a lot of hatred towards white people, towards anybody from a country that has a government who is supporting Israel in doing this to innocent people in Gaza, okay? And it's starting here in my country as well. We have huge protests going on down in Sydney right now, okay? And arrests are being made of Palestinians or pro-Palestinians. Like, we've got a large population of Muslims down there. So they are obviously out protesting about Palestine, as they have a right to do. And just because you support Palestine doesn't mean you support Hamas, okay? I support Palestine. I do not support Hamas, okay? And I feel sorry for the Israelis as well that are caught up in all of this, because they're just pawns as well, okay? And they are not their government. So you can't just go around hating all Israelis either, okay? You can't be polarized into picking one or the other. We have to be smarter, guys. This is why I'm doing this video, because we have to be smarter than what they think we are. They think we're idiots, and for the most part we are. But there are a few of us that aren't. And so we have to see what they're doing here. They're dividing us along lines of race and religion. And they've been playing these cards for the last 8 years. And then, about 7 years ago, I started seeing the whole American black versus American white thing really starting to be pushed too. And I did a video called political stage show, and it was like the coming race war. I've got a screenshot of the thumbnail. Okay, because that they're dividing us this way. That's how they're weakening us. So now we've got a whole lot of hate coming our way, guys. Especially you guys over in America. I really want you guys to engage in those spidey senses right now, guys. I really, really do need you guys to start applying everything that you have been studying and learning and researching over the last decade. I really need you guys to start applying that right now, because you are going to have a race war on two fronts. You're going to have the Muslims that hate your guts, and you're going to have the Black Americans who hate your guts. Now, again, I'm not saying that every Muslim over in America is going to be sucked into this bullshit, and I'm not saying that every black person over in America is going to be sucked into this bullshit, okay? Because a lot of them, well, maybe not a lot of them, but there are some of them who see what's going on. And I see videos from these Black Americans who say, piss off, you know, I've got lots of white friends, white American friends, and they're my friends, and I'm not going to be drawn into this bullshit, right? But there's others, the majority, because they're weak characters, and playing the victim, you can find some power in playing the victim, because you can basically do whatever you want, and you will be supported because you're the victim. Okay, that's another psychological operations. Okay, they play with our minds and our weaknesses. Okay, and they know that when you are called a victim, and then you're given a platform to be able to get back at who you are told are your the perpetrators of all your misery, then you take advantage of it if you're a weak character, if you're a weak person. And that's what a lot of these Black Americans have been doing, blaming everything that's gone wrong in their own life because of their own failures on white people. Okay, when really there is no systemic racism in America at all. There hasn't been since they, basically got rid of all of that in the 50s. Okay, that was the end of it. Okay, it was put to it. And need I remind Black Americans that it was actually white Americans who freed them from slavery as well. Okay, so yeah, I mean, there are American mayors, there are American police officers, commissioners, there are American ministers, doctors, lawyers, dentists, I mean, actors, whatever. That in itself shows you that there is no oppression of Americans who are black, okay, because they are just as successful as white Americans, and there are just as many white Americans who are not successful, that are living in trailer parks, okay, that are brought up with alcoholic parents and drug addicted parents and don't get to go to the best schools. Are you telling me, are you trying to tell me, you people who believe in this systemic racism, that some white kid that grows up in a trailer with an alcoholic mother and father is going to have the same chance of success as some black kid whose father is a dentist and mother is a nurse and grown up in some nice house in some nice community? Are you really trying to tell me that white dude from the trailer, he's got a better chance at and a better opportunity at succeeding as the black dude, as a black kid that grew up with the dentist father and the nurse mother in the nice house with the nice car? I mean, just enough of this ridiculousness, because people who are playing into this whole bullshit propaganda are going to suffer in the end. Even if they feel like now it's empowering them, it's not going to end well for any of us. We need to identify that we are brothers and sisters. We are part of the one race, the human race, and we are not each other's enemies. Our enemy are the ones who are controlling us from the shadows, the hidden hand. That is the true enemy of mankind. So I just want people to be very, very aware of the situation that our countries are moving into and how they are going to use this to further exacerbate the already very tense, feelings and situations between the different races in our countries, especially America, because now you are going to have a lot of hatred from the Muslim community because of what is going to happen in Gaza, because they are going to do some very, very horrible things to the people in Gaza. So, as I said, they've now created this whole black-white thing, and they use BLM. And I mean, you look at all of the ties to BLM, and you can see it was a completely orchestrated and created group. It wasn't organic at all. I mean, even the people that were running BLM ripped it off, took all the money, used it for themselves. Okay, and people still don't want to wake up to the corruption and what's going on and how we're being played for idiots. So, yeah, so I just wanted to let you guys know that that is pretty much what we can expect coming. And this card of all of these Muslims that they imported into our countries 8 years ago is about to start playing out. It only took them 8 years. But as I said, I knew when that false king was being, when he had his coronation, and I could see all of the symbolism around him. And I show that in that video that I've done. So if you guys haven't seen that video, go back and have a look at my video about the coronation of false King Charles. And I show you all of the symbolism around him and around the coronation. And I warned and I said, this is them telling, this is the next stage of their script. It's about to be played out. They're positioning themselves. This is their little ritual as they get ready to play out the next part of their script on mankind. And 22 weeks to the day, they stage this invasion of Israel, which, by the way, was created in 1947 with the help of the Vatican. And we know that the Vatican were very, very connected to Israel and to the Nazis and to Hitler and to everything that went on around World War II. So basically what the Antichrists have done is they have created their own version of Israel. So this is their own version of biblical prophecy that they are going to play out as an FU to God and to the real Jews, the real tribes of Israel that they hate. Okay, they have an absolute hatred for God, and they have an absolute hatred for God's children. And while God's children do not have access to their power, to their divine characteristics and their divine attributes, they are going to take this opportunity to punish them. Okay, they have been punishing them for the last 3,000 years. I mean, we can just have a look at what they were doing to people 600-800 years ago, literally burning us alive. Anybody that didn't agree with the interpretation of the scriptures according to Catholic canon was viewed as a heretic, was viewed as a pagan, okay, and was burned alive or hacked to death in front of their family, in front of their village, hung, staked, stabbed, cut, whatever. I mean, you know, they just went underground after that, okay, because they had to act civilized, because we were actually starting to consciously expand, you know, because we are moving through the cycle and Christ consciousness is returning. That's why we're actually, you know, starting to awaken our level of consciousness, and we, you know, started creating and inventing all of these marvelous things that make our life so easy. But do you see how quickly we have started to you know, be able to create technology, and we're expanding so rapidly, so consciously, because we're moving towards that point now. And it's like the Fibonacci sequence. So it took us a long time, like 1,000 years, to get from here to here, you know, and we still used horses and carriages. And then suddenly the car came, and then suddenly electricity and this and this, and, you know, and it just like, it's because as we move down towards the end of the cycle, everything quickens. We're now in the quickening. And so while we're awakening, they're using this intelligence that and this heightened consciousness as a way to inflict evil upon us rather than using it for good. Okay, it's just like the internet. Remember when the internet first started, guys? Remember YouTube when it first started? I was one of the lucky ones that got to see YouTube when it first started, and it was so awesome, and the YouTube community was so awesome. Okay, and social media was so awesome, and everything was awesome about the internet. You could just do whatever you wanted, say whatever you wanted. There was no censorship. There was nothing. It was, you know, a search engine was a literal search engine. You'd get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of what you were looking for. It would take you days to go through it all. Now it's all changed. Okay, now it's all censorship. I couldn't even show you any images of war because I already got a warning when I did my video about the hypocrisy of Christian Americans who don't speak out for the children that are dying under the bombs over in these Muslim countries. Okay, they care about the abortion issue, but they don't care about children that are actually being killed by the bombs that their taxpayer money is being funded by. So I actually did a video about that, and I used just images of children who were victims of war. None of them were dead. It was just a few of them that had been a bit hurt. You know, they had a bit of blood on their head and rubble and stuff around them and sitting in rubble. And that was all too much for the YouTube censors. They warned me. They took that video down and they warned me. So I don't want to, I just done the headlines even of the articles that I wanted to bring you guys because I wasn't even game enough to actually show the front pictures, thumbnails of any war situations. And I mean, you know, they could still find something to take this video down because these are the times we're living in right now. So it happened so slowly over the last 10 years. If this shit was happening back in 2011 and 12, everyone would have just woken up to it straight away and called it out. But what happened was because it happened so slowly and they've taken so long to play all this shit out, everyone that woke up back then started doubting themselves. Okay, and then they just went, yeah, well, this is probably not real. You know, it's there's nothing to it. You know, and they just went back into the matrix. Okay, now I'm calling to all of you people that initially woke up. You woke up for a reason. You woke up because of this shit that's about to happen now so that you could prepare yourself for it. So if any of you are now starting to look back through some of the videos or looking up some of the people that you used to listen to back in 2012 because, you know, shit's starting to get a bit real and maybe you just might go and listen to a little bit of Thyalwaysseek again because, yeah, well, maybe a few things you remembered I said back then are starting to unfold now. Well, I'm telling you now, this is why you woke up. This is what you've been preparing for. This is what you were born for. I mean, none of this is by accident, guys. All right? None of it. So it's time to get real now and just, you know, not continue to allow yourself to be mocked and ridiculed by these pieces of shit who are playing this crap right out on humanity in front of our faces now. And literally, for the most part, telling us who they are, but we still, you know, the majority of mankind don't want to see it. You know, I mean, they literally just put out an article 2 months ago or last month that one of the popes, Pope Pius, who was the Pope during World War II, knew all about what the Nazis were doing. Okay? And they feigned the whole ignorance. Oh, we didn't know how bad it was. Well, now they're saying that there's evidence that they did know how bad it was. So, same people keep coming up, guys. Don't you think that's weird? Same people keep coming up. You know, these people that are in charge of our religious institutions, the biggest religious institution in the world, and we know that he is the most powerful because all of the world leaders go over and kiss his ring. And these people have been in continuous power for 1700 years. They are the only organization that has had continuous power in the same form for 1700 years, guys. You don't think during all that time they may have positioned themselves so that when we get to this part of the cycle, the last degree, that they're in the perfect position to play out exactly what they want to play out. I'm just telling you guys, this is exactly what's coming. Okay, I know it sounds unreal. Of course it does. That's what they want you to think, that it sounds unbelievable. The reason that it sounds unbelievable is because it's hard for us to process that type of, that level of conspiracy, that level of evil that we're dealing with. But it's easy. They just co-opt. They just co-opt everything. They infiltrate. The Jesuits are known for it. They brag about it. They literally infiltrate organizations and then they just make their way to the top and then they just change the whole organization with whoever they want. So we're going to see a lot of propaganda. We're going to see the whole, actors pretending to be Palestinians, pretending to be shot and wounded, and then the next minute they'll show you something where the person's walking around or the person is in another shot and he's alive, or he's with different people, or they're going to do that. They did it with Ukraine and they'll do it now. And it's because what they want people to be confused, okay? I'm already seeing comments from people saying it's all a stage show, it's not real, they're just actors. I mean, really, can people be so stupid to believe that they're not really bombing and killing people over in Gaza right now? Because I can tell you this is going to be very, very ugly when it's played out and the tables are turned and it's our neighborhoods that are being bombed. Do you think you're going to appreciate it when people call it out as fake? And people call out, the dead people in your neighborhood as being actors? Because that's going to happen too, okay? So be prepared for the propaganda. Be prepared for all of their agents that infiltrate all of the comments section of YouTube. Most of the comments on YouTube now are, they're all trolls. They're all bots. They're agent provocateurs, and they are controlling the narrative, okay, pushing all of this disinformation. And again, let's not forget how this plays into their hands to lock us down even further and to lock down all of social media because of all the misinformation that's going around, okay? And, a few of these jihadist attacks against us, and we're just going to need more surveillance just to make sure you're safe. We're going to need checkpoints to make sure that you're safe. We're going to have to, take away some more of your freedoms. But hey, it's because we're going to keep you safe. Okay, that's coming too. Okay, we're about to be completely screwed, guys. I mean, I don't know how else to put it to you, but that's what they're going to use this for. So I just want to just be sure that you guys know that you have to start getting real, okay? You have to, shit is going to get really dark, and so you have to get real, okay? And someone says, what can anyone do with this awareness though? They always show us, people continue to sleep, and I don't blame them. Now, so the fact of the matter is that regardless of having this information, we can't really, we don't have the power to stop what's coming, but we do have the power to put ourselves in a better position to be able to withstand the hell that's coming, okay? So literally don't live in the middle of a city. That's one thing, all right? If you live in a city, okay, have you been waiting for the sign? I'm just waiting for a sign and then I'll move. This is it, okay? This is the sign for you to start stocking up a little bit because there's going to be food shortages, okay? The food shortages are going to outlast anything that we have got in our supplies, but at least for the initial weeks into the food shortages, you're not going to be suffering like others, and you're not going to have to go out into the public to go and get supplies like others are as well, because it's going to be quite dangerous out there. You're not going to want to go out in the public more than you have to. When you get your supplies, you don't go tell people about them. Remember how I just said to you about the whole I don't trust anybody, okay? That's the type of mentality that you have to have from now on as well. Don't go telling your friends that you're stocking up. Don't go telling your family. I mean, a lot of these preppers just love to brag about it. Idiots. I mean, why prep and brag about it? Because you're just going to make yourself a target. Okay, so don't do that. The other main thing is that would you rather just be mocked and ridiculed as they take you out, or would you want to look your enemy in the eyes and say, fuck you, before they take you out? Because you knew it was coming. And so they didn't blindside you like all the rest of the others, you know, that were fully asleep. You knew what was coming and you had prepared yourself, mind, body, and soul, for what was coming. And so you were ready to go out on your terms. I mean, you know, so yeah, I mean, if you just don't want to be awake and you're cursing the fact that you were somebody who had the ability to see through the lies. And you know, I have been there many years ago. Though this was literally you know, probably about 20 years ago that I was there, because I was warning back in 1999 about the freaking millennium bug. All right, millennial bug. All right, that's when I first started waking up, you know, and thinking shit was coming. All right, so imagine back then, 20 years ago. Okay, doing this 20 years ago. You think that was fun? No, it wasn't. I used to curse that I was different from everybody else and I just wanted to be the same. Why couldn't I just be like everybody else? But, you know, you can't have a pity party about this shit. You really can't get stuck in that, because it is what it is. You're awake. I'm awake. So what are we going to do? We're going to have a cry about it? We're going to say, it's not fair, I'm awake, I wish I didn't see all this? No. Okay? What we have to do is we have to use this information to empower us. Don't be afraid of death, because researching into all of this information is what brought me to all of the esoteric knowledge that taught me about my soul, that taught me about my creator, that taught me about why this was all happening. And so now I don't fear death. Like, you know, I'm not going to say I don't fear pain, all right? Because, yeah, I don't want to die painfully, all right? I've got a list of the way I want to go, you know, I want to go out of this world, and none of it involves lots of pain, all right? But I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of what comes after. And the reason that they have so much power over us is because they use death as a way to make us fear being unsafe all the time. So, many people believe these events are fake. No one cries, no one dies. I think people have to see it this way or else go insane. You can't handle the truth. Best fact in fiction movie line ever. 20 years ago, I was told Australia Food Supply was on a 30-day cycle. It fell over that period of time. All right, well, okay. I don't really want to continue to have to address your comments because I just don't know how helpful they are. You can lament your situation, and you can lament how you have to see it as, you know, fiction because people can't handle the truth. I mean, if that's how you're going to get through the day, mate, then that's fine. My video's not for you. My video's for the people that don't want to throw a little pity party, that want to know the truth, that don't want to hide from what's coming, that don't want to look away because they can't handle it, because they've been preparing themselves for the last decade for this shit. Okay? Because I know a lot of people that follow my channel that still follow me. I know they've been preparing for this because that's why they still follow my channel. So, you know, I can't help everybody that wants to just fall into victim mode, all right? That's exactly what they want you to do anyway. It's all too hard. It's all, you know, it's not fair. I just can't handle seeing it all. I'd rather it, well, no, okay. Yes, people want to believe that everything is fake And that's why they love this propaganda of, oh, it's all a stage show, it's all staged, it's all actors, it's all just a movie set, none of it's real. Is because they're cowards. So do you want to be a coward? I don't know. Well, okay, I'm misunderstanding you because you said you're not being clear, you have zero fear of death. Okay, so I don't understand your comment then, and I don't want to keep continuing on focusing on it because I really don't see, how any of it matters. Fact. People are dying over in Gaza. Fact. People don't have food in Gaza. Fact. People are being bombed and blown to pieces in Gaza. Fact. Children are being blown to pieces and dying in Gaza. Fact. Everything that's happening in Gaza is going to happen to us. If people don't want to believe that, then that's their prerogative. I mean, God gifted you free will to believe, everything that the propagandists want you to believe. But, hang on, let me get rid of this idiot. Just deleted him. So, I'm not surprised that I've got a couple of trolls. And look, I'm not saying you're a troll, okay, Gandalf. All right, you could be. Remember the whole I don't trust anybody, that comes into play a lot when I'm having to deal with people in the comment section of my live streams. So I do just slay before I ask a lot of questions. Okay, so the facts are, guys, the facts. Let's just deal with the facts, okay? People are dying in Gaza. They're going to kill people in Gaza. They're going to carpet bomb Gaza into rubble. And they're going to use the excuse of Hamas to do it. And during that time, we are going to be bombarded with propaganda, making us doubt what we see. And most people will fall for the propaganda because they are weak and cowardly and they can't face the truth. So that's all I'll say about that. That way it's been dealt with in a way that everyone can understand. I beat you, Rochelle. Got rid of him. I slayed him. So, so I just wanted to basically warn you guys about the propaganda. Be prepared. It's all fake. They're all actors. It's not real, okay? And the tables are going to turn, though. All right, so just remember that. What's happening in Gaza, it's about to happen to us, okay? Now, I'm going to also address the Christian Americans that I know are going to start proclaiming that they stand with Israel, okay? Even though Israel, remember a couple of weeks ago, and I've noticed that this has actually been something that the media has been pushing, well, social media has been pushing, because I've been seeing it a lot more lately, how the Jews, those who follow Judaism, the Israelis, the Jews with a little J over in the place that they call Israel, has been spitting on Christians and shoving them and pushing them and basically calling them names. Have you noticed that? Over the last few months that's kind of increased, right? And, still though, even though when we see this behavior towards Christian Americans will still worship at the feet of these people who call themselves Jews. Now, I find that interesting on a couple of fronts, because one is that the Christian Americans always tell you that if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to hell, right? So these people, these followers of Judaism, literally don't believe Jesus is the Son of God. So there's that, right? And then, you have these people that call themselves Jews and follow the religion of Judaism that claim that they are the chosen ones, and that in that proclamation and that elevation of themselves as being special, they treat others with contempt, spitting on Christians over in Israel, calling them names, shoving them and pushing them. But still, Christian Americans will still actually fall at the feet of these people. So I just want to let these Christian Americans know that they are just being used as well as pawns, okay? And, you know, there's this secret eagerness within these Christian Americans, because they really are quite a morbid and evil bunch of people. And really, you have to be lacking something within yourself to allow others to be able to fool you in the way they've been fooled anyway. But they want to see the destruction of Israel because to them it's prophetic and it's going to mean Jesus is returning soon, right? So they love all this in the way that, you know, they think that this is a sign that Jesus is going to be arriving soon. So they actually want to see the destruction of Israel because they're idiots, because they don't understand that the Israel that was created in 1947 isn't the Israel from the Bible. No, these idiots actually think that this is real biblical prophecy. And so they actually want to see the destruction of Israel. Now, perhaps if these Christian Americans would go and read Mark 4:11-12, Jesus is literally telling us that all the stories in the Bible is symbolic. Okay, so all the stories in the Bible are symbolic because the truth is occulted beneath the allegories. And I've also done a video about that. All right, done a live stream about that one. So all you Christian American idiots who think that this is biblical and are eager to see the destruction of Israel, just know that you are also cheering on your own destruction, because that is what is going to follow this. So when they destroy fake Israel, our destruction is going to also follow. You know, so it's going to go hand in hand. So, you know, I don't know exactly how they're going to play this out. I do know that it's going to be that our politicians are going to support Israel, okay, at the detriment to us, okay? And I do know that that's going to stir up a hornet's nest within the Muslim communities, and that these Trojan horses, these sleeper agents that have been imported into our countries 8 years ago, are going to rise up against us. That is going to be part of their script. The other parts of their script, I don't know how exactly they're going to play it out. But it's not going to be pretty for us. I can tell you that with absolutely no doubt whatsoever. And that is when, sorry guys. So that is when they are going to basically bring in their reset and their false messiah, because when they destroy us completely, and it's going to be ugly. And as I said, if you live in a city, I would leave the city now. This is your cue. This is your cue. This is the sign you've been waiting for. And yes, it's going to uproot your whole life. You're going to have to change your kids' schools. You're going to have to go and find another house somewhere and another job. And it's not going to be easy at all. But whoever said it was? Whoever says that waking up and readying yourself for this was going to be easy? So if you're looking for easy, then, well, you may as well just go back to sleep with the rest of the sheeps, because easy is not going to happen. All right, you should have already been doing this years ago, like the rest of us. So if you are still in the cities, if you're still living in the city and you've been watching me for years and years and years, I don't know why the hell you're still in the city. That's on you. So it's time to, you know, get your shit together and get out of the cities, because the cities are the worst place to be, because they can easily just lock down anybody entering or leaving the city, okay, and take full control of the city, okay, at least when you're in an area that's got more, you know, geographical locations to escape to, and there's, you know, more areas to, I mean, look, really at the end of the day, it's going to be near impossible for us to escape any of this, because their technology is just, you know, it's just too good. You know, they've got thermal drones and cameras and, you know, so you really do need to be smart if you're going to, you know, go and hide out in the wilderness, basically. You're going to need, you know, a way to stay off the grid for an extended period of time where you don't get found by anybody, because there's going to be other people out there that aren't nice, that aren't awake. They're just in survival mode, and they're going to kill anybody, and anything, because they want your food, they want your supplies. I mean, a lot of bad stuff is coming, guys. I don't know exactly in the order that it's going to play out. I just know it's coming. Okay, and I warned about this 8 years ago, that these Muslims were coming into our country because they were going to play something out on us. This was setting the stage for something that wasn't going to be in our favour, and that's starting to play out. And I also warned in 2016 that they were going to play out a pandemic on us, and then 4 years later in 2020 they did that too. So, I don't know at what part people just start listening and taking, notes and paying attention and applying all of the information that I've been telling everybody. I don't want to badge. I don't want to, lord myself around. Oh, I'm so great. I said all this stuff and now look, it's happening. I'm just trying to say that if I was right about these couple of things, what else am I right about? Okay. So don't be played by their bullshit. It's going to get bad. They're going to use it for a lot of different reasons, to lock us down, to social media. Oil barrels are going to shoot up. I'm already hearing $150 a barrel. I mean, they're going to control us financially just in oil. It's easy for them to, destroy our financial system, just pricing oil in that way. And need I tell you that Biden has actually drained the petroleum reserves, the emergency petroleum reserves. Okay. He's actually already used all that, and you think that that was accidental? I mean, I just don't know at what time, at what stage of their script do people start waking up to who our enemy is, because it's all of them. They're all in on this together. I've been saying this over and over, and people just don't want to believe it because their frickin' stage show is just so good. Their propaganda is just so good. Their distractions are just so good, and nobody wants to really see. I mean, I think people really enjoy just getting caught up in propaganda, and the whole left, right, Trump, Biden, all this bullshit that people get caught up in, and it's meaningless to your soul. All right, well, that's pretty much it, guys. I think I've pretty much covered it all. I'm not going to continue doing lots of videos about this because, as I said, it really does just add to all the white noise. The important parts I wanted to tell you was, 1, it was a false flag. 2, the Muslim incursion happened 8 years ago, not just on Saturday when they came into Israel and attacked Israel. It's already been happening in our country, so heads up, you need to have your spidey senses engaged. I want you to be aware of all the propaganda that's going to be pushed. Everyone's going to be pushing different theories, and the whole, it's all fake, they're all actors, it's all staged. Be aware of that, okay? And just be prepared for what's coming next. I mean, really, that's all we can do, prepare our souls, okay? Because really, that's all we have to trust in, and that's what's most important, is our souls. And lastly, I want people to remember, okay, and this is especially once again to these Christian Americans, the real victims in all of this are the children, okay? The real victims in all of this are the children, okay? And it's not just the children in Gaza, it's the children in Israel as well, because they're going to be suffering everywhere, and it's going to be the children in our countries that are suffering as well, okay? So I want people to remember that. Okay, I want people, when they start feeling hate towards the people over in Gaza for any reason that the propaganda is pushing, to understand that there are children in there, little children. Look at your child. Look at your child and imagine your child sitting in the middle of a house that's blown to pieces around them, and one of their parents is dead in front of them, and their brothers and sisters are dead in front of them. Can you imagine? that for your own child, that your own child would have to see something like that and live through something like that, because the people in Palestine have been living through this for a long time, not just in the last, few days when Netanyahu started bombing the shit out of them. Okay, because they've been living this for a long time, okay? And these little children are the real victims of all of this. And they do not deserve any of this. And so that is why I will continue to be a voice, even when they shut me down and I'm on their radar. No doubt I'm on their radar. And they can shut me down and they can come and get me for all they want. I don't care. I will speak about the children to I take my last breath, because I will happily be taken out speaking about what's important, and that is the knowledge that I put back together. That and the children are the two most important things, and I will easily lay down my life to continue speaking about these types of things. The children, the children, the children. We need to protect the children. We need to always put the children before ourselves. Everywhere, all over the world, every single child is a precious gift from God, a precious little innocent pure soul, a creation of our prime creator, our Father. He does not see the difference between an American child and a Palestinian child. They are both precious to him equally. So to all of you Christian Americans who believe that Christ is going to return and he's going to come and save you, okay, he's going to come back and he's coming back to be besties with you and sit around and sing hymns with you and hang out with you. You selfish pieces of... You're self-centered and you're selfish. To even believe that, to even allow yourself to contemplate that as a possibility when there are children suffering. You think that the Christ is going to be returned to come and hang out with you when there are children suffering. Because I'm here to tell you that you are on the bottom of the list when it comes to who the Christ is going to come and align himself with and stand with when he is returned and when the Christed are returned. It's going to be the most innocent and pure among mankind, the ones who are suffering the most. So I just cannot wait till I hope I live to see the faces on these hypocrites who are liars and call themselves followers of Christ, and they're nothing but liars and hypocrites who follow vipers and Pharisees. And I would love to see the looks of horror on their face when they realise the truth that Jesus never gave a shit about them, because they never gave a shit about anyone else other than themselves or those who looked like them. Because these little children of every single race are precious little souls. They're innocent, they're pure, and they don't deserve what's about to happen to humanity, what's about to happen to mankind, because we fucked up and dropped the ball and let these pieces of shit take power over our world, over our religious institutions, over our governments. And now we have to pay the price for that, all of us. And it's our children that will pay the price more than we will, because we've lived our lives. That's why I hate it when I see people who share this bullshit, these memes of like, I was a child of the 80s. I used to stay out until the street lights went on, and I just used to go and hang out and play in the mud with my friends, and I never used to sit on and watch your computer and all. Yeah, aren't you lucky? So what are you going to do? Rub it in their faces now, are you? You're going to rub it in the faces of the younger generation of how we screwed them over, because we got to live really awesome childhoods and they don't. And so it's their fault. It's their fault that they're screwed up and mentally unstable, don't even know their gender anymore, because we screwed up and allowed the system to indoctrinate them, allowed technology to become so powerful, because that's what we've done. Technology was our Achilles heel, guys. It was technology. That's where we fucked up. Okay. Literally the first television set, as soon as that got turned on, that was the end. That was the last nail in the coffin for humanity. All hope of us trying to stage an uprising and take back, you know, our lives from the evil that had taken control was gone. Okay, and it's just got progressively worse to the point now where we just literally are joined at the hip to technology every single day. And we think it's great. You know, people think it's awesome. AI is so awesome. You know, phones, technology, so awesome. Oh, if you don't like it, you're a Luddite. No, it's not awesome. When you look at your phone, you should actually see a ball and chain that's around your ankle, because that's what it's going to become. Okay, you look at your phone, you should actually look at a little prison cell. Okay, because that's about to be what your phone is to you, because that is how they're going to fully enslave us in this new system. And they're going to be able to do it so easily with technology that we've allowed. So yeah, so I just wanted to say that to anybody that shares those memes about the generations, you know, once again, it's this divide and conquer. My generation's better than your generation. Look at my generation. But the whole thing of like blaming children today for their lack of character, their lack of ability to go and adventure, and because they're so afraid of everything, blaming that on them when we were the ones that allowed it to happen. What kind of person does that? I don't get it. I just don't get this mentality of the people that think in this way. I'm sorry. I don't understand you. I just don't. So yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. So that's where I'll leave it. You know, like, we've just got to remember that it's the children that is the most important thing now. We've lost all hope for ourselves. They're about to play out the worst of the worst on us. I'm not looking forward to next year. Next year is an 8 year. So they're going to really make us pay because they hate the 8. I've done videos about that too. If you don't understand what the 8 is and who the 8 are and why they hate the 8, then I suggest you go and check out some of my videos, because I have spoken about that. And so next year is going to be pretty horrific for us, guys, because the tables are going to turn. And all we can do is just stand strong in the truths that we know, and remember that we do have, you know, possession of the truth. Regardless, at the end of the day, they can never take that from us. Okay, they can take us, they can lock us up, they can torture us, they can do whatever they want to us, but they can never change the fact that we know the truth and that we are eternal. Okay, that our souls are eternal. And yes, I'm not saying that we're all divine, because we know that the divine souls are immortal, but mortal souls are eternal when they are aligned with the divine laws of God. And we are. Anybody walking this path right now, calling out these pieces of shit, you know, doing what the Christ would have done if he was now here, okay, and if he was present and speaking out about this, this is what he would have been doing. I mean, I don't think, you know, I can ever remember Jesus actually being afraid to call out evil wherever evil was. He didn't shy away from it. I mean, that is exactly what we're seeing now with Christian Americans who won't actually address the killing of children by their military. No. They don't want to talk about that because that's not popular opinion, and it's more important that they're popular. Well, I don't ever remember that Christ cared about being popular. He just cared about the truth. He just cared about standing in the truth no matter what it cost. And he told us to go and seek. He said, "Seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be answered," and that's what we did. That's what we've been doing for the last 10 years. So we need to trust in that, and trust in the fact that we are souls first and foremost. And that's what they tried to take, you know, away from us, that truth. They tried to take that truth away from us so we don't know that. We just think that we're all meat sacks. We're all just, you know, meat suits walking around, living in their system that they created, motivated by nothing but money and consumerism, and sex and drugs and hedonism and whatever else it is. That's who they want us to think we are. But we know that we're not that. We know that. Okay, so that's what we have to hang on to. Remember how I always said that you have to build your house on rock, not sand, because all of those people that have just been flittering around all of these YouTube channels that are telling them what they want to hear, all these popular YouTube channels, okay, that don't say anything too doomy, okay, don't say anything that dark, because people won't want to listen to you if you start talking about things like weighing of the heart and your actions are going to count one day, and we're going to be held responsible for everything we've done and all of our actions. People didn't want to hear that. People still don't want to hear that. But I've never been about being popular. I've been about the truth. That's always what motivated me. That's why I called myself Thyalwaysseek, because it was all about seeking out the truth. That's why I started my channel. That's why I started researching everything I did, and I never, ever, ever stopped being motivated by that one thing, and that was to find the truth. And when I found the truth, it was very ugly. It was very hard to look at. It was very hard to accept. But it was the truth regardless. And unfortunately, it's not something that is all wrapped up in a pretty bow. And, all these people that have been waiting for this uprising that we were going to actually, take back our power. I mean, how many times have you heard that? The Canadian truckers rally, all the rallies that they had, during the pandemic shit show, and people are waking up. People are waking up. We're going to rise up. We're going to take back. Where? Where did it happen? It never happened. I told you it never happened, because resistance never happens in the open. Resistance, true resistance, is always an underground movement. So this whole idea of us being able to just wave some signs around and yell things out and yell out slogans and stand in the middle of the road is going to actually bring us any power was just a load of shit. And they actually helped orchestrate it as well, because they wanted to give us the feeling that we had some power. They let us have a little bit of power so we can delude ourselves. But I can't tell you how many people, have a go at me because I say, no, it's not happening. There's no revolution. There's nobody waking up. Oh, well, I'll be attacked. I'll be attacked by a heap of people when I say that, So people don't want to hear the truth. Not even people who believe themselves to be awake want to hear the truth. They just want to hear that we're going to wake up and that we're all going to rise up together and take back, our freedom. And it's just not going to happen, guys. We passed that point of no return literally in 2001, because that was when they fully locked us down. Okay, after that false flag, that was it. That was when technology just really started, being the chains that were starting to enclose us, the net. It's like a net, and now they're dragging that net further and tighter. Like, that's basically how we can see it. So all the platforms are co-opted. They're all, regardless of whether, MeWe seems to be pretty cool. It lets you say things. No, don't even think for 1 minute that MeWe isn't just another platform that they're allowing us to have some free speech on. Just like Telegram, just like Trump's social media, all of them, okay? And what they're doing is they're just slowly bringing that net in. And pretty soon, when they put it all to blockchain, which is what they'll do, and we'll be given an internet ID, and I've been warning about this for a long time as well. This is going to be part of the reset. We will be issued a number. And that number will be everything that we need to exist in their new system. And everything we do online is going to be traced back to that number. So we're all going to have social credit scores. Whether they call it that or something else, I don't know. But it's all coming, and it's just, look, I wish I was the bearer of better news. I really do, okay? But I'm sorry. I wish I could be that person that could lie to you. But I can't. I can't bring myself to lie to people and tell people what they want to hear so I can get excellent sub numbers and, YouTube partners and all the rest, and be popular, and people will see all my, studies and research and the whole thing. I'll just leave out all the bad stuff. I just wish sometimes that, I could be that way and tell you what you want to hear. But realistically, I'm not that person, and I will never be that person. Even if sometimes I do wish, like Gandalf, it's a curse that we're awake that we can see this. It's not fair. We've got no friends. We've got no family. We've made lots of, mistakes with the people in our life, and a lot of people have, parted ways with us because we refuse to tell them what they want to hear. It's easy to fall into that victim. And, if I ever find myself doing it, and I'm not perfect, I snap myself out of it as quickly as I can, because there is no power to be found in playing the victim and having the pity party. It is what it is, guys. And pretending it was something else, pretending it's something else is not going to change the reality, the truth. Because we're living it right now. It's happening, okay? It's happening right now. It's no more just me saying it's coming. It's here. It's here now. It's starting. We're already seeing unrest in New York. We're already seeing protests in Sweden. We're already seeing protests in Sydney. It's only going to get worse. And then we're going to, as I said, start seeing these, extremist Muslims starting to take people out. False flag here, false flag there. And when I say false flag, I'm not saying that it's not real. I'm saying it's real, but it's not actually motivated by somebody who's actually just playing it out because they are a Muslim. I mean, limited, probably in the minority, there could be some that way that are really that extremist. They have actually managed to propagandize them and brainwash them that much. But for the most part, it's all part of their script, okay? So that's coming. That is coming. And as I said, Christmas is not looking good, because I remember a few years ago, you might want to go and do a bit of research into this, that they literally put out a propaganda video. This was ISIS, that they had set off, or they had, attacked New York City. Okay. So, I am just going to be pinging the algorithms right now with all of these words that I'm using. So I'd be surprised if I don't get this video taken down or something starts happening with my channel. But they put this video out, okay, and they showed New York City, all right, and it was Christmas and people shopping, all right. So it's like the foreshadowing is already there. Now, is it going to happen in New York? I'm not saying that, because probably not, because they never actually do exactly what they show us they're going to do. They always put a twist in there so they can blindside us. But they definitely did show Christmas, they definitely did show shoppers, and they definitely did show something very nasty. So that's all I'm saying, guys. All right? That's why I wanted to do this video and say, please don't just see this as just another little incursion and it's just going to go away in a week. And that's what they want people to believe. That's why they've played it the way they have so often, where it does just get crushed within a few days or a week and nothing comes of it. This isn't that time. This is literally, lines are being drawn now between the West and everybody else on the other side of that line, because it's not just going to be Muslims. It's going to be maybe Russia, maybe China. It's where it's heading. Okay, lines are being drawn now. So they're setting the stage now. It's not going to play out in a week or two. Never does, okay? It's going to play out maybe in 6 months. It's going to play out maybe in 8 months. Maybe it's going to play out next Christmas. All I'm saying is that it's now that time where we have to get real and make plans to apply this knowledge to our lives if we already haven't, especially if you have children. Now's that time. While everyone's confused and everyone's chasing their tail with propaganda, that you can see through all the lies, you can see through everything that's happening and utilize this time and your ability to see the truth through all the bullshit. Utilize it now to prepare yourself, mind and soul, for what's coming, and prepare your children, mind and soul, for what's coming in the best way you can. And I can't tell you how to do that, because everyone parents their children differently. There's no right or wrong way. I wouldn't hide it from them completely, though. Little children's a different thing. I'm not talking 3-4-year-olds, but I'm talking, children seeing this and They're not silly, okay? There has to be some element of truth with children, even if it is just talking to them about their Father, their Heavenly Father, and their soul, and letting them know that their body is not the full extent of who they are, that their soul is who they are, and their soul is inside their body. Their body is just a garment for their soul. That is the most important lesson you can ever teach your children. All right, guys, well, I'm going to leave it here. Thank you all for joining me. If you have any further comments or discussions that you want to have, I will post this in my MeWe group. So if you haven't commented on the live stream and there are some things that you want to ask or something you want to bring to my attention, you can post it underneath the video when I post it in Shift of the Ages in MeWe, while I still have an account there, because I couldn't get on there all day yesterday. They wouldn't let me on because I've refused to take their invitation to be part of their blockchain. And so I don't know if my time is limited there, if my days are numbered there, I don't know. It could have had something to do with them starting to move the system over to blockchain, and because I wasn't part of it, it just stuffed around with me when I was trying to get into MeWe using the link on my computer. I could still access it using my phone, but I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get onto MeWe using my computer, and using the website link. So all I'm saying is that be prepared that there will be a time where my voice is silenced, okay, and I am gone. And everything that I shared with you over the last 12 years is gone too. Okay, so I don't know when that's going to happen. But while I still have access to social media, I still will bring you all of this information. And I still will continue to do the live streams. And I still will continue to post to my MeWe group, Shift of the Ages. That's where I put all of my observations about everything that's going on, not only with the political shit show, but also with the Antichrist shit stains on humanity, otherwise known as the Jesuits, and also the earth changes, because that's happening too, and that's escalating as well. All right, guys, well, thanks again for joining me, and just engage in your spidey senses. Remember who you are. Remember where your power really comes from, and don't allow them to suck you into their propaganda. Stay safe out there, guys. As always, peace out.